For those of you that don't know, Squid Game Season 3 is coming out tomorrow, June 27th. And actually, interestingly enough, I just now finished it June 24th. Now, you might be wondering, why did you now just watch it? I didn't even start it until recently because I didn't have Netflix when I was off at college because Netflix doesn't really allow you to have accounts across state lines or whatever. You can't have like an account in Timbuktu and then in Timbuktu.0. You know what I'm saying? You got to have them near each other. At least that's how I understood it. Or maybe I just forgot my login. I use my family's account because I am paying for my own. I'm broke. Anyways, so eventually I got around to watching it, right? And I want to talk about it because genuinely I heard a lot of negative things about the show. And so going into it, like I thought like a lot of people were like this wasn't as good as season 1. So going into it, I expected a really crappy show. And I was thoroughly surprised at how good it was. Like I feel like it was genuinely overhated, right? Cuz like I feel like there's a lot of positives, okay? For those of you that spoiler alerts ahead here because there's no way to really review this without spoiling it. All right, season 2 takes place 3 games after like the original Squid Games, okay, and the main guy, I forget his name, and I'm gonna butcher it if I try to pronounce it, so I'm not even gonna try to do that. All right, he's pretty much trying to stop the games from happening, and he has these huge gangs running around trying to find the guy that recruits people. You know, the one that like throws down the cards. He's trying to find that guy. Okay, and so he has groups of gangs going out to find this guy, and it was really interesting and amazingly somehow the cop from season 1 survived. That one I felt like was pretty cheesy, right? And right off the bat, like within the first couple episodes, I could tell the captain was bad because he found him on a buoy, right? But if you remember from the first season, the guy got shot off a cliff. Like nobody's jumping down the bottom of that cliff and putting a buoy on him. Like he was supposed to die. Okay, so that was a whole, like, that guy was so obviously evil. I did not like that aspect, okay? But anyways, so the cop survives. He goes to being a traffic cop because nobody believes him that there was an island where they are shooting each other, which, rightfully so, crazy concept. And so we see him eventually find what's his name? The recruiter, right? And I already liked right off the bat, they built this little story about the people that were finding him, right? You know, like, oh my gosh, Mr. Kim officiated my wedding. Boom, Mr. Kim's dead, right? Insane. The build with the classical music and Russian roulette, crazy. And then, oh my gosh, the guy's dead, but then Mr. Kim doesn't pull back, so he gets disqualified. Little plot line there, super upsetting. But then after that, the guy just becomes a comedic role, which, again, I like a comedic role. If my best friend that officiated my wedding dies, I don't know if I'm going to be cracking jokes. Okay, so, again, but both those are minor details, right? So they wanted a comedic character. They set it up poorly, in my opinion. Because, like, it was just, sorry, it was just like they build him up. Oh my gosh, my friend died. And then they're like, man, he's not going to do anymore. And so that was kind of, and, I really liked how the story was building, right? And I liked how he's hunting them down. The first episode, I feel like, ended on a really high note. I liked how him and the recruiter had that debate. And there was, like, the cinematography throughout this show was very good, right? Throughout the whole time, you could see red and blue. And there was a lot of edits about this. The recruiter, had a really good way of, like, red was his nervous, I'm scared, I might die side of his face, and blue was the I'm gonna win this, I always win, blah 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 face. And they used that theme and they continued it throughout the whole show, right? Blue was the side that was gonna win all the time, and red was the side that was scared and vulnerable and wanted to leave. They used that expression of his face as a foreshadowing for what the color theme would be for the whole show, right? And I thought, I don't remember that from season 1. I don't remember them having cinematography like that. And I'm not a cinematography person, so for me to know that, I think is a good sign. Like, I really enjoyed that little hint that they had throughout the show, and they use that panning expression a lot. Like, later on when that transitioning person was talking to the old lady, they both had red coloring on their face to show how they were nervous and they wanted to go home. right? And it was a constant use throughout the TV show, sorry, that I felt like was a very, very good addition. I don't know if I like that they let him return to the games. That was kind of crazy to me. It's also kind of crazy how obvious it was that number one was evil and they just didn't do like shit about it. Like, one was evil last season. You think he'd be hesitant. And then when he says your name, right? Like, what? No. And then when his name, Yang Lee or whatever, means 01, like, I don't think that's a coincidence. Like, there's a lot of red flags there that I feel like they skipped. And I don't like that, right? Like, I enjoy the good guy turns evil, right? Like, oh my gosh, special reveal. But they did it twice, both with the captain and number one. And both times it was extremely obvious. The captain found him on a buoy. The captain said the expensive guy's name. You know, like, somehow they never found the island. Like, there was a lot of things that were off-putting me, right? Like, it did seem a lot of things. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, obvious. Like, Toby, like, that was a really good one from Naruto. Oh my gosh, he's super evil, or he's his old character. Like, it was an amazing twist. This one, I didn't feel that way. You know, but I really enjoyed the philosophical aspect of it, right? 01 and 456 often had debates about life, and they polarized the debates on life a lot. It was like a very yin and yang situation, right? 456 wanted to save as many people as possible, right? So he's like, let's vote no. And Young Lee, it's your fault that you voted yes in the first round. Young Lee was like, if I had voted no, and I saw one of those people in the streets years down the road, do you think they would thank me? Do you think like they would appreciate the fact that I saved their lives to let them return to a life not worth living? You know, that was his logic. And it was very cool to constantly see their debates, right? And one of the last debates they had, they were sitting by the beds talking. And right down the middle in between the two, they had a pole from the bed on this zoomed out pan shot. So you could see how divided they were in their arguments by the end. And unfortunately, by the end of the show, they almost showed that 01 had affected 456, because 456 was like, we need to sacrifice some of our own people, you know, like let Blue kill them in order for us to take over the games. Like, he got so lost in wanting to take over the games that he let others die for the greater good, you know. And I kind of disagreed with that, but I really liked how philosophical the show was. They often used colors. They didn't make things obvious. A couple of things was like, oh my gosh, please don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I really enjoyed how you could sit there, you could really see the perspective. I liked how 01 and 456 were open with each other, and they made that connection. You know, it was obvious he was an enemy, but it was nice to see the enemy and the savior really converse like that. You know, it was really, really good addition in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. You know, one of the things, there's a couple of things I was going to say by. I mentioned them already, like the comedy with 390 kind of, not 390, but I mean, I like the comedy. Like, I think what should have happened was 390 should have been the comedic effect, his best friend, you know. Like, I thought it was real funny when he was like, I have no idea who that guy is in my entire life, never seen him, when they were talking like 2 seconds beforehand. But the Mr. Kim guy kind of took me off with how he just like moved on from his boss dying. Like, they spent a year together and he officiated his wedding. Like, come on now. I didn't like the stabs in the back. They were so predictable and like obnoxiously obvious. Now, the deaths ticked me off, right? The first season, the deaths were like, oh my, no, so sad, right? These ones were like, what? Like, for example, Thanos. He had a group of 4 people that were his friends, right? And one of them was that girl. And then the other one was 125, who was like always pushed around. right? Oh, sorry, there's 5 of them. 125 was the weak little kid that got pushed around, and 330 was the girl that protected him, right? Those two were together. Okay, so 330 is getting attacked that night, right? And so 125 sees she's getting jumped, and he throws a bottle down, misses the bad guy, all right? And she goes to pick up the bottle, she's fighting him, and she starts to get overwhelmed and gets stabbed with a fork in her shoulder, right? 125 sees her get stabbed and watches her get stabbed 6 more times and doesn't do a single thing. And then has the nerve to curl up on a ball and act sad. Like, no, her death is on your hands and on your conscience. Like, a lot of the deaths in season 1, you're like, no, there's nothing you can do. You feel like you're trying to reach your hand out. This one was like, what are you doing? Like, there's so many characters could have been saved. Like, that guy, sorry, not somebody. Like, that girl could have been saved if that guy just owned up and, like, grown a pair and saved her, right? And that was so frustrating to me. You know, like, season 1 deaths were good. They were characters you loved. They were built up, and it was like, God, no, I can't save them. This one was like, you could have saved her. You're just a weak little punk, you know? And so that frustrated me. I will admit that. And, I don't know. It was just like, the voting system was so frustrating me. Like, what do you mean they're not going to vote to stay alive? Pretty much, when they voted yes to stay, they were like, well, a bunch of you should die. So, a bunch of you will die, no biggie. You know? Like, what? And it was just, why is one guy tripping on acid? Like, that one isn't even like a complaint. Just like, what? How did that happen? How are we not seeing that? You know? It was also, sorry, final thing. It was nice to see a red masked person's perspective, right? It was cool to see the reverse. Because I know a lot of people had some fan theories that if you took the red little square and flipped it with the guy, then you were going to become one of the Squid Game people. And I don't think that's true, because the one Squid Game girl was recruited. Like, they went out of her way because they saw about her in the news. So, I don't know if that red card theory is true. But I liked the season. I think it was overhated. The one thing me and my friend were debating this the other day, because he doesn't like it either, right? He mentioned how the police officer, right, they found an island with a door, and then they just didn't explore it anymore. And, like, that storyline kind of just randomly fell off towards the end. And I will agree that is frustrating, right? They kind of just dropped that storyline off. But I think that was, like, their way of saying, like, because of the captain, nothing's going to happen, right? The captain's going to make sure they can't do anything. But I would say, like, I think it's a really good season. I think it's a really good show. I think they're setting it up really well. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Wait, one last thing I wanted to toss in here. I also really wish they would have utilized the use of Swan Lake in any of the scenes. There's so many scenes where he's talking to the bad guys, whether it's the beginning or the final scene. I really wish they utilized Swan Lake in some sort of capacity. Also, hate the ending. Worst ending of all time. His friend just gets shot. Also, why was Daeho so scared to shoot a gun? Like, what was going on there? I was very thoroughly disappointed in Daeho's performance in the fight scene. Thank you for watching, you know? But that's all I had to say. Yeah, thank you for watching. Please comment below your complaints or what you liked. I'd be more than happy to talk about them. You know, maybe respond with a YouTube short. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.